Tennessee Football Practice 3, Key Offensive-Defensive Observations. Here's the brutal truth about Tennessee football that nobody wants to discuss. Sometimes the most revealing moments happen when the cameras aren't rolling. On a surprisingly crisp August Saturday morning in Knoxville, the Volunteers took their preparation to the next level at Haslam Practice Field, strapping on shoulder pads for their initial padded session of camp. But here's where it gets controversial. With media access limited to just 3 practice periods, we're only getting glimpses of what could be make-or-break moments for this program. The injury landscape remained relatively stable compared to the previous 2 sessions. Tight end Miles Kitselman continued his participation while sporting the dreaded red non-contact jersey, though he remained actively engaged in positional drills alongside his teammates. Meanwhile, sophomore tight end Cole Harrison's situation appeared more concerning, as he completed warm-up activities before being relegated to individual work away from the main group. And this is the part most people miss. Veteran receiver Chris Brazzell made his first appearance, but the circumstances were telling. The senior wideout arrived equipped with a helmet, but conspicuously absent was his practice jersey. Rather than joining team warm-ups, Brazzell worked separately on the sidelines, raising questions about his current physical condition and availability. The quarterback battle intensified during passing drills, beginning with fundamental short-range connections to running backs before progressing to route-running exercises. The signal callers gradually expanded their throwing range, transitioning from basic completions to intermediate-level patterns, including challenging deep comeback routes that test both accuracy and timing. Here's where the numbers tell a fascinating story, though I must acknowledge missing some early repetitions due to the transition from Anderson Training Center to the outdoor practice facility, which particularly affected my observation of George McIntyre's throwing session from my distant vantage point. Both Jake Merklinger and Joey Aguilar delivered impressive performances during the abbreviated media viewing window, each completing 9 of 11 passing attempts during the 5-minute route running segment accessible to reporters. However, the receiving corps struggled with concentration, highlighted by Mike Matthews failing to secure an Aguilar delivery on a comeback pattern. While the pass arrived slightly elevated, it represented a catchable opportunity that should have been converted. Similarly, another Aguilar attempt sailed slightly behind Braylon Staley, but remained within the receiver's catching radius. Merklinger experienced his own accuracy issues, overthrowing a comeback route intended for Travis Smith Jr., while Amari Jefferson committed what can only be described as an inexcusable drop. The normally composed Josh Heupel demonstrated uncharacteristic animation, delivering pointed criticism to his receiving unit regarding their lack of focus and fundamental execution. But here's a positive development that caught everyone's attention. Kitselman showcased exceptional athleticism with a spectacular one-handed reception on an Aguilar pass that was thrown slightly ahead of his route, demonstrating the kind of playmaking ability that could prove crucial during the season. One intriguing detail that might seem insignificant, but could indicate deeper strategic planning. Merklinger was again the sole quarterback equipped with a helmet-mounted GoPro camera for the 2nd consecutive practice session. Make of that what you will, but patterns often reveal intentions in football preparation. The running back evaluation continued to yield pleasant surprises, with a different player impressing observers each day. Duke transfer star Thomas exhibited the kind of mobility and elusiveness in pass-catching situations that immediately translates to game situations. Additionally, our previous observations about Peyton Lewis's improved conditioning were reinforced. He appears noticeably leaner and more explosive this camp compared to previous seasons. To conclude the offensive observations, with perhaps the smallest, yet most aesthetically pleasing detail, Deshaun Bishop's decision to abandon gloves creates an absolutely classic old-school appearance that football purists will undoubtedly appreciate. Defensive unit evaluation. Regarding player availability on the defensive side, Boo Carter experienced a minor adjustment to his participation status, while Jermod McCoy continued his rehabilitation work away from the main group without pads. Freshman edge rusher Christian Gass found himself in similar circumstances, working individually rather than with his positional group. The initial segment of media-accessible practice focused heavily on special teams preparation, featuring numerous defensive backs practicing block-shedding techniques in their roles as coverage specialists and gunners. Colton Hood received particular attention during this special teams work, and his physical attributes immediately explained Tennessee's enthusiasm about his potential impact. His exceptional length creates obvious advantages, and if his speed measurements meet Southeastern Conference standards, he possesses all the tools necessary to become an elite contributor this season. Edwin Spillman continues building on what appears to be a breakout sophomore campaign in the making. His physical transformation since his freshman year is remarkable. He's shed excess weight while adding muscle definition and tone. This particular player represents the type of developmental success story that could completely alter the defensive unit's ceiling this season. Focusing on the linebacker core, Arian Carter was selected to wear the defensive unit's helmet-mounted GoPro camera. While I hesitate to overanalyze Merklinger's similar equipment on offense, Carter's selection reinforces my growing conviction that he's emerging as the defensive leader and emotional catalyst for the entire unit. Unfortunately, limited observation time prevented comprehensive analysis of the defensive line's progress. Leaving that evaluation for future practice sessions, the Volunteers returned to action Sunday morning for their fourth camp practice. But here's what I want to know from you, and this might be the most controversial take of all. Are we placing too much emphasis on these limited practice glimpses when the real evaluation should happen during scrimmages and actual game situations? And more importantly, does Tennessee's decision to limit media access suggest they're hiding significant concerns, or are they simply protecting competitive advantages? What's your take? Are these practice observations actually meaningful predictors of season success? Or are we reading too much into controlled, non-contact situations? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I have a feeling this might spark some heated debate among Vol Nation. Tennessee football, highlights from day 3 of preseason camp. Imagine being just 4 weeks away from the start of a highly anticipated college football season, and your team is gearing up for the big kickoff. This is exactly where the Tennessee football team finds itself, and the excitement is palpable. But here's where it gets interesting. The Vols have just put on the pads for the 3rd day of preseason camp, and the intensity is about to go up a notch. After a well-deserved day off on Friday, the team was back at work on Saturday morning at Haslam Field, and Go Vols 247 was on hand to capture some key observations from the brief viewing period. The Vols had already completed 2 practices in helmets and shorts with limited team periods before taking a break. Now, with the season opener against Syracuse in Atlanta just around the corner, the team is shifting into high gear. As the players took to the field on Saturday, they donned shoulder pads for the first time, working in shells on a somewhat overcast morning. Although the viewing period was brief, consisting of a stretch followed by a single period outside, Go Vols 247 still managed to gather some valuable insights. And this is the part most people miss, the little details that can make all the difference in a team's performance. We'll be hearing from linebackers coach William Inge, as well as linebackers Edwin Spillman and Jordan Burns, and defensive linemen Tyree Weathersby and Josh Shell, the Grand Valley State transfer, after practice. So what can we expect from these interviews? Will they shed some light on the team's strategy and preparations for the upcoming season? One thing that did catch our attention was the presence of sophomore defensive back Boo Carter, who was out on the field and went through stretch wearing a helmet for the first time in camp. However, it's worth noting that this didn't necessarily translate to greater involvement in the practice, as he later returned to working on the side with the other injured or rehabbing players. But here's the question. What does this mean for Carter's chances of playing in the season opener? The controversy surrounding player injuries and rehabilitation is always a hot topic, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think teams are doing enough to support their injured players, or is more needs to be done? Let us know in the comments. To get the full scoop on the Tennessee football team's preseason camp and all the latest news and updates, be sure to subscribe now and get 50% off your first year. As a subscriber, you'll get access to in-depth coverage from the 247 Sports Network, including exclusive articles, interviews, and analysis. Already a subscriber? Simply log in to access all the content. So, what are you waiting for? Join the conversation and stay up to date with all the latest developments in the world of college football. 2-minute drill, reacting to Tennessee football practice highlights. Tennessee football took to the practice field on Saturday morning for their third session of fall camp, and the excitement is palpable. This is a crucial time for the team as they gear up for the upcoming season, and fans are eager to see how the players are developing. In this brief overview, we'll break down the key highlights from the practice, providing insights that every supporter should know. The atmosphere was charged with energy as players showcased their skills and strategies. Coaches were actively engaged, offering guidance and feedback to ensure that each athlete is honing their craft. This is not just any practice. It's a pivotal moment where the foundation for the season is laid. But here's where it gets controversial. Some fans believe that the intensity of these practices can lead to injuries, while others argue that pushing players hard now will pay off in the long run. What do you think? Is it better to ease up during practice to prevent injuries, or should the team go all out to build resilience? As we delve deeper into the specifics of the practice, it's important to note the standout performances. Certain players have been turning heads with their exceptional skills, and their progress could be a game changer for the team. For instance, the quarterback's precision in passing drills has been particularly impressive, suggesting that he is ready to lead the team effectively. In addition to individual performances, the team dynamics are also evolving. The camaraderie among players is evident, which is crucial for building a cohesive unit on the field. This aspect often gets overlooked, but it can significantly impact the team's overall performance during the season. As we wrap up this overview, it's clear that Tennessee football is on an exciting path. The practices are not just about physical training. They are about building a team that can face challenges head-on. What are your thoughts on the current state of the team? Do you believe they're on the right track, or do you see areas that need improvement? Join the conversation and share your opinions.